to Feng Shui Friday. We have started this channel to bring awareness and understanding to the magic of Feng Shui. Together, Sharon Jeffers and I'm Tiff Willson. I have a degree in interior design, run the company roomhints.com, and am a firm believer in the magic of Feng Shui.
And I am a Feng Shui consultant. I have been practicing, teaching, and consulting with Black Hat Feng Shui since 1986.
Awesome.
And yes, and it is my passion and my love. And I'm really happy to be here with you doing this because I think that we can really make a difference for a lot of people.
Awesome. I agree. And the more that I was pushing the business to do interiors and the website, I think I said this on the call, but the more I got motivated to get deeper into it. It's not just about pretty pictures or a pretty space, but there's so much more meaning behind that in our environments.
It's a power. It's the power of creation. And this is why I love Tibetan Buddhist Black Hat Feng Shui, which is what I've been doing since 1986. It's all about tapping into the essence and the power and the energy of creation itself. And then understanding it in a way that you command it to be in balance within your space.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was studying applied kinesiology in the 70s, and my instructor from Australia asked me out to lunch, and I went to lunch with him, and I said, I can't believe how conscious you are. I'm really impressed.
Wow.
He was about to put some food in his mouth, and he stopped, and he put his fork down, and he said, it has nothing to do with that. He said, it's about training your mind. If I had a puppy that I brought into my house and I didn't train that puppy would chew up my shoes. It would pee all over the house. It would make my life miserable. It's the same with the mind. And I really see that with Feng Shui as well, that when we understand that energy has substance and it has power and it has intention, and when we become aware of it and then use our environment to command its direction,
Mm-hmm.
see on the planet right now, there are a lot of things that are misdirected, directed, horribly misdirected. I mean, I can't even talk about it. It's so intense.
And the other thing about energy, it's always there. So
Yes.
Either it guides you in your space or you guide it.
Great point.
And so like a lot of spaces are, they're beautiful and wonderful, or we think we know what we're doing, like the planet right now. We think we are doing the best for mankind, but then it will react. And in reality, it's like, no, this is out of balance. This is not the way to command that energy to stay within the flow and the natural cycles.
You know, I was thinking about that after we had a conversation the other day about all the fire on the planet.
Yeah.
And in the 5 elements and the Bagua, the Feng Shui map, fire is illumination. The highest expression of the fire element is illumination.
Wow.
And I've always had this feeling like we're here to take care of one another, and we've failed miserably with this across the board, right? And now so many people are being displaced. by other elements, but right now by fire and animals as well, and indigenous people who were the first people on the land. And it's like, it just feels like this huge wake up call,
Exactly.
right?
We're not doing it all what we were meant to do here.
I agree.
Like, we're not taking care of people, but we're also in turn not taking care of the planet. And yeah, you can see this too within the people. Like, people are increased anxiety, increased depression, increased stress, in faster lifestyles,
And illness,
and illnesses.
so much illness. And we really live within the etheric body of the planet. So if the planet's sick, we're going to get sick.
It's our environment.
Yes.
Yeah, you change the environment, you can change the behavior, and the outcome will change as well.
Yes.
So if the environment is already not in a good place, then we can't build our foundation from that.
It's true.
Yeah. So
So I'm thinking, you know, I know and I believe that when we use the principles of Feng Shui in our life, it creates an energetic wave that goes outside of our personal space. I've actually witnessed this happening. And it is like a wave. And it's a wave of awareness of, because when anything is seen, it becomes present. It's like if you're in a bookstore and you're looking at a book and all of a sudden you feel like somebody's watching you. You know, you look up to see who's looking at me right now. Why is someone focusing on me? And I believe that the energy is the same way. When we become aware of it, it responds. And then when we're consciously choosing, let's go this direction and create a flow, then not only does that change our relationship and we enter a more dynamic relationship with our environment, right?
right.
It expands. It's like throwing a pebble into a pond.
It gets better and better.
And it ripples outward.
Yeah, it is like that wave. It will come faster and faster and keep crashing down. So for those that aren't familiar with Feng Shui, what's the first place to start understanding that energy?
I think understanding the 5 elements, which Feng Shui is based on, and understanding the map of the Bagua and the 9 palaces of life, which are our journey in life and our career, you know, the cultivation of self, our family and ancestors, our good fortune and wealth, our health, our fame and our illumination, which go hand in hand, and also our reputation. I mean, you know, our relationships, our children, and who we bring into the world, and what we create in general, what we choose to create, our benefactors, and our health, and the unity of all that. And when people learn, you know, the principles of each of these things, and you know, I learned how to do this in a very simple way because when I lived on the island of Kauai in Hawaii, you know, all the teachers wanted me to talk to their students about Feng Shui.
That's great.
I know. It was amazing. It's a very different culture, you know. And so I simplified the 5 elements to be able to teach them to 4th graders, which I did. And, you know, I think all of us have a 4th grader inside when we're learning something new. It's like,
Yeah, you want it to be simple.
right. So I think understanding that, the earth has been very much shaped by wind and water, which is feng shui.
Yeah.
Feng in Chinese is wind and shui is water. And shui is also the word for money in Chinese.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
That's
that,
really interesting because water is flow and money is all about tapping into flow.
yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So there are basic principles that are really important, like your front door, the entrance to your property and your house, and where your stove is placed, and the master bedroom. I mean, these are three of the most important things, and who knows? Not everyone knows that. And people think feng shui is, I don't know, some people just don't see the value in it. But when I've gone into a lot of places over these decades that I've been doing this, most of the time in a home, it's a woman that calls me. And then the husband will tag along
Yeah.
out of curiosity,
What is this person doing?
Yeah,
Really
what
good
is
work.
this stuff? And
But
it's all,
it's very logical.
it is. And they always say, wow, this is common sense. This makes sense to me. And very often they're directly affected. They're consciously aware of how they've been directly affected by feng shui. I mean, I have so many stories about this,
Yeah.
especially relative to career for men, which is very important for them.
So what's a good story about what the changes you made for a career for men?
Well, one that pops into my head right away is this was in Los Angeles, and the people called me to Feng Shui. And I always sit down with them first and ask them, on a scale of 1 to 5, how's career, how's relationship, I go through all 9 palaces of the Bagua so I can get a sense, But when I walked up to this house, it had a beautiful pathway. It was curvy and it went up to the door, but right alongside on both sides there were aloe vera plants pointing, coming over the path. And I was like, I wonder what's happening with career in this house, because this is like a war zone for the energy. Those plants don't belong at the entrance. You want something smooth and flowing that's inviting you in. And these were like swords everywhere. And there were a lot of them. And the pathway was probably at least 15 to 20 feet from the street, all aloe vera plants.
So
When I got to the career question, he said, I haven't worked for 5 years, and I've had a very successful, prior to that, I had a very successful career in the film industry. And he was still really young. He was in his late 40s. And I said, well, so maybe you ought to tear out those aloe vera plants along your entryway, and I can show you where to put them in the back. However, where they are right now, they cause complete obstruction in career. And their mouths dropped open and they looked at each other, and then they looked at me and they said, we planted those there 5 years ago.
So it was like a direct correlation. And so what was it with the aloe vera that's not right to be in your front?
Well, if you're familiar with an aloe vera plant, not only
I have one right here.
okay, not only are they very pointed and sharp, which is fire element, they also have little sword-like teeth on them, right?
Yes.
So they're a little weapon-like. but they're very fiery. And the entryway that brings good fortune to our door is the element of water.
Mm.
So fire and water make steam. It's not what you really want for the entrance. You know, you want to have that a nice, soft, inviting flow that draws the chi to the front door. You don't want to come flying at the front door. So, you know, there's always a need for a balance. However, you do not want to have plants that appear to be threatening along the pathway to your entrance. You know, it's really about,
Yeah, it's about the shape and the shape and how it relates to each of the elements.
yeah, it's so important.
So what did they end up planting there? And
When I left that day,
yeah,
as
they dug it all
soon as
up.
I left, they went outside and pulled out all those aloe vera plants. And then they found some really nice, soft, you know, plants that didn't encroach upon, but
That were
I
organic.
want them to some
Flowering.
plants because there are plants, you know, different plants have different magic that they bring with them. And I swear to God, it wasn't even 2 weeks and he was working again.
Wow.
It was, yeah, it happens all the time. It's so amazing. We just don't know, you know. I mean, somebody will look at that and see, oh my God, that looks beautiful. But it's like, right, but I dare you to come to the door is what
Yeah.
the energy is, you know. It's like we're guarding all the way up.
And in
And
California, there's so many homes with cacti out front and aloe and all these different, and they don't even know that that could be affecting them.
yeah, it's true. And there's nothing wrong with aloe vera plants. They're very healing. They're wonderful. They need to have their right place, you know. And it's not by the front door. We don't want pointy, sharp things by the front door along the entrance. Just think about it. It's like if you were trying to walk in somewhere and somebody was standing there with, you know,
For the knife.
yeah, with a knife. No,
Do not come in here.
right.
Yeah, you want flowing objects, you want water, you want blue. You want to create that.
Yeah, even black, because down at the bottom of the water, it's very dark. So, yeah, those colors. I had another client that someone told him to paint I have a lot of clients in LA who are in the industry, right?
Yeah.
And someone had told him to paint his entryway pink. And he thought that's a wonderful idea because that's a warm color. And when I walked in, he called me and he said, I lost my job. You need to come over here in Feng Shui. And so, you know, I walked in the door and I actually felt like my skin was burning.
Interesting.
And I was like, you painted your entryway pink. He said, I wanted it to be warm. I said, yeah, but it's creating a sizzling effect. And it's destructive for your career because you want it to be light and open and cool. He said, but cool isn't inviting. I said, when it's in the right place, it's absolutely inviting. You can put your pink somewhere else. Not here. He changed it and he went back to work. I mean,
And it's the energy coming in that front door that you want to capture, like the chi energy coming into your front door and how that moves through your space.
yes, you want the front door to be seductive to the chi, completely seductive. So it's irresistible.
Exactly. So it comes in and flows with all its goodness.
Yes. Because it's from there, it's going to go everywhere else into all those different aspects of your life. And that those 9 palaces of life are within us as well, right?
Yeah.
You can you can put things, it's like when certain manifestation techniques come out. You can go through all the motions, but if nothing's changing inside, things aren't going to manifest, right?
Yeah.
So it's like not only are you placing things and using colors, because each of the 5 elements has shapes, it has colors, and they like each other. Although they don't always, if they're not all there together. So I was doing a Feng Shui training on Kauai, training people to be consultants. It was a week-long training years ago. And I had put the word out to people that couldn't afford a Feng Shui consultation that we would do that as part of our learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to the home of a single mom, and she had 2 kids. And we walked in this home, and they had just moved there like a month or so before. And the carpet was red, and the walls were white, white, white. Now, red is fire, and white is metal. If you think about fire and metal, fire melts metal. So there's a conflict there, right? So I said, how's the environment in here? Because I would think there'd be a lot of fighting going on because of this conflict. And she said, my kids haven't stopped fighting since we moved in this house.
Oh, wow.
So we suggested that she paint the walls earth tones, yellows, beiges, whatever. Bring those colors in. You can leave the ceiling white, but you have the fire, then the earth, and then the metal on top. It's perfectly harmonious. So she did that. And the thing is, the kids didn't fight before they moved into that house. They had once in a while would fight, but she said it was just like nonstop. She was ready to just sell them or something, you know. It's so intense. So it's so, you know, we want to have balance, because if there's not balance, it can create a conflict in the relationship and people don't even know why it's happening.
And I think that's when people notice that they need Feng Shui or get interested in Feng Shui is when there's something that's not normal. Like these kids, they didn't fight before, but then all of a sudden it's like, now we're fighting a ton. What's going on? How is our environment impacting us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why we're doing what we're doing, you
Exactly.
and I. we want to Feng Shui the humanity and the earth. Yeah.
We do. The wisdom and principles, it can help.
It can.
It can bring great benefits to the way we live and what we manifest in our lives, and let us be in control of our spaces.
Which brings me back to our earlier conversation about the planet and the fire element.
Yes.
And how we have failed the planet and each other, you know, and it just seems that nature is forcing us to be together.
Yes.
And there's a lot of resistance. And, you know, I think that we all need to understand that there are strong messages in nature right now. I mean, all the indigenous people get it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I lived on Kauai, I mean, it was so amazing to listen to the wisdom of the Hawaiians and the kahunas and how they listened to nature. They listened to the wind and the waves, and they paid attention to the aina and paid respect to it. Of course, in comes the white man, and we're going to build a hotel here.
Exactly. So we're going to make money and profit off of this. And
we've gotten a little carried away with all that.
Yeah, it's greed.
Yeah, it is.
And the more greed and capitalistic views that come in, the more nature's going to fight back.
Yes.
Like if you look at the natural disasters over the past 5 years, they're 10x what they used to be.
Yeah. I
And
know. Yeah, looking at the numbers, it's like, okay, are we paying attention? I
yeah,
don't think we are,
I think we're either.
And everyone always says, you don't, you never think this will happen to you. And then here comes Hurricane Dorian, and an entire island is wiped out. And where are all those people going? And I did read a beautiful story today that one of the cruise ships that had picked up.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and the people on vacation, a lot of them decided to help serve the people, which I thought, yes, this is exactly the direction we're supposed to be going in, right?
Yeah, the cruise ship brought on board 1,500 people from Florida that wanted to go to the Bahamas, get back home, and tons of supplies,
Ah,
which is exactly like those cruise ships. The
yeah,
Bahamas is their bread and butter for, there's a Bahama cruise line. The Bahamas is a bread and butter for them to
yeah,
stay in business. So it's only in their best interest to help
yes.
Bahamas.
And we want them to do it from the heart, not just because it's
They
the,
want to make money, continue to make money.
if that's what works to get it going,
Yeah,
fine. You
yeah,
know?
that's what they need to keep selling them or whatever
Right,
thing
right.
they do. But it is interesting. You made a point on our call with the fires. There's like increases in fires over the past 3 years, and on the flip side, we've been deforesting even more. So that's getting rid of that earth element, which makes the fire more prominent.
Yes. Yeah, and it's interesting, because those trees, they're our protectors. And they are a big part of our ecosystem for our health and well being. And as a species, we seem to be falling short in understanding where we are and how this entire ecosystem works. I mean, we need to be more moderate with our choices in living so that, instead of taking everything for granted, that we're honoring everything and doing our best to support the health and well-being. And I think as people, I know for me, when I first learned about Feng Shui in 1986, I had already been moving things like an inch or two, and if
Because we're in tune with the energy.
yeah, it's like this needs to be over here a little bit. And a friend of mine who is an acupuncturist had returned from China, and he said, I want to tell you about feng shui because that's what you're doing when you're moving things. And so as I started learning about it, it made me more aware. And I realized everything I do with intention makes me more aware and my environment more responsive. And then I'm able to respond more consciously to my environment. And it's this amazing relationship that keeps getting bigger and clearer and, you know, more magical as well.
Hmm.
Feng Shui
Feng Shui
is
is magic. You're tapping into the magic.
it's definitely,
The
definitely,
magic of the universe.
yep, of creation, yes.
But that's exactly it. It's bringing things into balance. And right now we've taken things to the extreme. Like we're, as we said before, we're taking from everyone, and it's no longer in balance. It's one-sided. And it's like, yes, we can have honey and bee pollen, but not the masses of it that we're doing right now.
Yeah, it's the industrialization of everything.
Yeah, it's the
It's one thing to have a beehive and a cow and a chicken,
exactly
right? It's another thing to have these farms that are so,
thousands
you
and
know,
thousands of cows and chickens, and it's not natural anymore.
mm-mm, it's all out of whack. And so we need to do our little part. Just,
Yeah. The other thing about feng shui that I always found was interesting is like understanding the energy that goes into creating the food. So fast food, it's made quick, and that energy of a microwave that's made quick in or whatever it's cooked on really fast is going into your body. So you're putting that fast energy into your body, and it takes more for your body to adapt to that fast energy versus a slow cooked meal or something that's naturally produced is way better for our bodies to metabolize. And it's the same with this mass produced food. They have that energy of that mass production within them.
and so many people are very unhealthy because of processed food.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, diabetes, cancer. I mean, there's so much.
So many illnesses associated to food.
Illness. Yeah. And you know, as I said earlier, the stove.
Right.
Is
That's the second place. First is the door, second is the stove.
the stove is all about our fortune.
So, what's an example of a stove you helped remedy or good placement for a stove?
Well, you know, it's good to have a mirror behind the stove, not behind the stove, but above the stove, behind the stove.
The cooking is doubled.
And the burners, because the burners have are symbolically correlated to our wealth and good fortune, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you put the mirror there, you've doubled your fortune. And it's best when you're standing at the stove not to have people passing behind you. So that's another good reason for the mirror. You can see behind you while you're standing at the stove, because sometimes there's no option, right? It's best not to have a thoroughfare through the kitchen. Like a kitchen is best if you come in and you don't go through it to get from one place to another.
Yeah.
So there are all these little cures that you can do if you don't have a choice with that. It's funny, my son and I yesterday were having a conversation about feng shui in kitchens.
Mm-hmm.
And he was recalling all his kitchens of the places he's rented. And he's getting ready to build a house. And so he wanted to have that conversation about.
Yeah, he wants to know what's the best for him.
Yeah. He said, I hate it when you're cooking and all these people come into the kitchen and talk to you. He said, I think a kitchen should be facing where all the people are, out of the kitchen. So you can cook and talk if you want to. And that's exactly the best placement for a stove.
Having the stove on that center island.
Yeah. So yes, or yes, on that island. Because you don't want people passing through the kitchen.
Right.
So, you know.
Yeah, they're passing in front of you.
It's an element of design. Like when I've designed floor plans for people, you know, I can incorporate that. But if you already have a house and that's not how it is, then you need to find feng shui cures, which there are, so that you're stabilizing the energy in front of the stove. Maybe that's putting the right color rug on the floor in front of the stove to halt the energy, depending on
what color rug would that be.
Well, we don't know unless we know where on the bagua the kitchen is.
Oh, okay. So it's
right?
associated with it, yeah.
But it is fire, And oftentimes it will be an earth or a wood color, but that's not a good generalization.
Right. It's dependent.
I want somebody's house to catch on fire.
And that brings up a good point about Feng Shui is that, yes, it is simple once you know the rules, but the rules are very subjective based on the space and the people. So just because someone else might have added a certain plant to the front of their door and their career exploded doesn't mean that would, if I did that to my home, I would have the same effect.
You might.
But again, for the stove too, it depends where it's located within the bagua. So that could be different in everyone's home.
Yeah, that's why it's really great to learn the principles of Feng Shui and really understand the 5 elements and how they can balance your life and your relationships, everything in the house. Because if you have, we're all born under a star. So each of the 9 palaces in the Bagua are associated with the Feng Shui star, 1 through 9. Okay. And then those stars are associated with the year we're born, and then whether you're a male or a female. And so when we understand who we are, like I'm metal element by my
7 metal.
Me too.
Oh no way.
We have so much fun talking and creating. It's perfect. Yeah. So yes, I'm 7 metal too. And I have a little red hair here, which is fire.
You're the same.
I'm wearing earth tones, right? It's got a little wood and a little earth, and it's very watery. So I've got all 5 elements going here.
I'm not wearing.
One time I painted my dining room this coral color, and my dining room was in the wealth area. So in the corner where the wood element and the fire element come together, and for the next 24 hours, the following 24 hours after I painted, my nerves felt like they were going to come right out of my body.
Wow.
And I had to paint because it was too much fire. I loved the color. I thought, oh, this color would be so beautiful here. And I put it up and it was like, oh my God, you're going to explode every second.
Yeah, everyone these days has gray. Like my place is, this is just a rental, but it's gray countertops, gray walls, gray everything. And as soon as I moved in, I was like, this place needs color. We need color.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Lots of gray, which is metal.
Yeah.
And and if you're a wood element person, that's going to deplete you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. When those opposing elements, because metal,
metal chops wood.
Yeah, thank you.
And then the goal for this channel, each is to bring awareness to Feng Shui. And we will be posting every Friday on our channel a new video about Feng Shui. If you have any topics that you're interested in or want to know more about, or if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. We'll answer your questions. Sharon will give you her guided insight on our channel, and subscribe to stay up to date, and like us as well.
Yes, and click on the little bell so you know when we've uploaded our videos.
Get the notifications.
And we really encourage you to send in questions and comments, and we want to know. We want to help. Next week on Feng Shui Friday, we're going to talk about relationships and how to use Feng Shui to enhance our relationships, to bring a relationship our way, to balance and bring harmony to relationships. We're going to cover all the different aspects of that and whatever else might come out of that conversation.
Cool. Look forward to it.